Oh, okay, I can share this.
Yep. All right, good morning, everyone. We're just going to give y'all a few minutes to join us. We have 2 more Regenerate mini-series, and today we're going to be talking about brain health. So if you jump on with us, just leave us a comment, let us know that you're here, share with your friends. So if you want to start a watch party, I know it's probably Dr. Joel.
Is it my mom?
Is it Denise?
It's son.
So if you're on with us, leave us a comment, let us know you're here, share with your friends. All you have to do is click the share button on this post on Trinity Chiropractic's Facebook page, and that will share to your friends, or you can host a watch party so everyone that you're friends with can also tune in. Okay, we'll wait a couple more seconds here.
We have to, if my mom's not on, we have to wait a couple more seconds. What are we talking about today? This is going to be good. What's the topic today?
I think it's brain health.
Brain health? Okay. This is going to be a good one. You ready to go?
Yeah, anybody want to leave us a comment? Let us know you're here.
Somebody, please.
Get a shout out.
You're there. We see some eyeballs, but we don't know who's there. It's amazing. So we're talking about brain health today. And I think it's a topic that I probably 20 years ago, people didn't talk about it much because it wasn't as common. But I think now with how many concussions there are and the awareness of how concussions lead to major mood disorders and depression and all types of degenerative issues of the brain, that's important. Hi, Judy. Hi, Anna. Thank you. Yes, we do have somebody there. Awesome. But my mom's not there. It's like the first time.
I know.
I don't know. She sent me a message saying, "Hi, Eileen." My mother sent me a message saying it was minus 46 with the wind chill in Winnipeg. It's crazy. But yeah, so with like our understanding of the brain has and is evolving and developing. It was Dr. Daniel Amen who started taking pieces and analyzing the brains of NFL football players who, because of their concussions, had committed suicide and had hurt other people and things like that. And he found massive holes in their brains. And eventually they discovered, after doing thousands of these, they discovered that it was like the trauma to the brain. And that trauma is obviously in football physical and in a lot of sports like that. It's a physical trauma, but it could also be an emotional trauma. And it leads to things like neurodegenerative problems like Alzheimer's, MS, Parkinson's disease, dementia. And it's a very, very common topic today, which is great because people need to know how to take better care of their brains because it's not one that we grow up thinking about, right? So it's not common thought, but just like everything else in your body, your brain is designed to live to 120 years in good health. So the fact that for such a huge percentage of people, it's starting to degenerate even earlier now, because we used to see brain degeneration in like 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds, but now we're seeing a big segment of the population developing degeneration even before 65, in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And so part of what we're learning is it's not this programmed genetic stuff, but it's what we're doing to our brains that's causing the issues, right? From industrialized chemicals and pollutants that cross the blood-brain barrier to the foods we eat, to the mental, emotional traumas and the physical traumas we have, that will lead to a certain level of brain health. So the old paradigm basically was the same as everything else in healthcare. It's like, well, let's figure out a drug that can fix these like plaques that we're seeing in the brain. And so there's been over 1,200 research articles or papers and scientific studies trying to figure out how to break down the beta amyloid plaques in the brain that lead to memory and cognitive dysfunctions. But what we're discovering is much like cholesterol, how that cholesterol has been made the culprit, but it's not. It's actually trying to heal. The same thing's happening with the discoveries in the brain now. We're now discovering that those beta amyloid plaques are your body's defense mechanism against the poisons, the pathogens, the toxicants that are crossing the blood-brain barrier. And so even though we've been trying to figure that out for, let's say, 40 or 50 years, the FDA has approved drugs like Aricept. But the drug Aricept, for example, for Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's disease, has never demonstrated to slow the progression or the decline in the brain. It's only ever decreased symptoms for a very brief period of time. And so because they don't know the cause, they'll never find the cure, if that makes sense, right? And so the idea is our paradigm thinks that we have these beta amyloid plaques that cause all these issues and that it's unstoppable, and you're just it's very scary because you end up losing sovereignty over your body or agency over your body, or your self-control over your body as well. And so very important to understand that there is new understanding as it relates to the brain and the new paradigm. And there's a couple of different ideas, both of which lead to neurodegeneration. And so, but once you can find the cause and remove it, then your brain can heal. One of the new paradigms is obviously your brain has a microbiome and your brain has a lymphatic system called the glymphatic system. Very, very interesting, because when I was in school 20 years ago, we were taught that it was like this hermetically sealed off area of the brain with no need for an immune system and no need for bacteria. Obviously, that was far too dangerous to have bacteria in there. But now, 20 years later, we know that there is a microbiome, there is a lymphatic system in the brain. So you do have an immune system in the brain to be able to protect it, which is quite fascinating. Also, we found out that it's the calcification when there's an area in your brain, a gland called the pineal gland, and that makes melatonin. And melatonin is responsible for a whole bunch of things, but primarily sleep and energy, and it affects every cell in your body. And the calcification of the melatonin, of the pineal gland, causes a lower production of melatonin, which then affects your sleep rhythm. And then you have the formation of beta amyloid in order to protect yourself from that. So it's very interesting. So what causes the calcification of the pineal gland? Definitely one of the causes is, the chemicals do, but one of the causes is fluoride. So fluoride in your toothpaste, fluoride in the water, it's a known toxicant that is absolutely terrible. Let me just go back here for a second. And then the other issue that we have with the new paradigm is we've also found that, like Alzheimer's, they now call it type 3 diabetes. Why do they call it type 3 diabetes? Because your brain cells, just like every other cell in your body, can become insulin resistant, just like in diabetes. And so when you were eating high sugar, high grain diet, it affects your body's ability to deal with insulin. And when you become insulin resistant, that starts the breakdown process in the brain and leads to beta amyloid plaques to try and protect itself. So we're starting to see root causes of brain neuron degeneration. But the new paradigm also tells us that the brain neurons themselves can regenerate. And we talked a little bit about that last time, I think, that the brain could actually regenerate, which we never thought that was possible. And so we're going to go over a couple of brain cell degenerators and brain cell regenerators so you can start taking better care of your brain and being conscious of it.
Yeah, so just to begin with the brain cell degenerators, right? So what you should stay away from. Obviously, the first one are going to be the statin drugs. And if you were watching last week, I talked a little bit more about statins and how it affects the heart and cardiovascular system. But it does so much affecting the way that the brain functions, right? And so cholesterol, like Dr. Joel was just saying, has been shown, or it has been, recently, people think it's the bad guy, and that's not the case. Cholesterol is absolutely crucial for your body, and your brain requires the cholesterol in order to function like it's supposed to, right? And so a fourth of the cholesterol is actually found in your brain, right? And a third of that is what the protective portion of the nerve cells called the myelin sheath, right? So that's absolutely necessary. And if you're taking a statin drug, you're lowering the cholesterol that's getting to the brain, and it's stopping that protective barrier around the nerves, which leads to degenerative disorders like MS or memory loss or dementia or all these other neurodegenerative diseases, right? But then it also leads to things like depression and suicide and homicides, because what it's doing is it's not allowing your brain to function and think like it's supposed to, because those statins are stopping that cholesterol from getting to the brain.
Well, and sucking cholesterol out of the brain too, which is insane, which is why the first thing, if you've been on cholesterol medications or seen patients that have been on it, within a year or two, usually, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but within a year or two, you're starting to see mood changes, people getting frustrated easier, and the spouse will tell you very clearly that there are some mood changes happening when they're on cholesterol medication. Yet the patient, most likely the man, denies it.
The statins are also myotoxic, meaning that it damages the muscle tissues, which leads to things like pain. But as you're taking a pill for your heart, let's say, it's damaging your heart muscle, so it doesn't make sense that you're taking a statin, right? But then also proton pump inhibitors, right? So for things like reflux or GERD. Calcium supplements, which I talked about last week, where the calcium supplements that you buy in the store they get the calcium from rocks, right? So it's not good for your body, and it damages the brain. But then fluoride, which what Dr. Joel was talking about, and not every city has fluoride in the water, but a lot of them do. And you can go to your city website and find out if there's fluoride in the water. But fluoride has been associated with lower IQs in children. They've done studies to show that. But then not only that, like what Dr. Joe was saying, it calcifies the pineal gland, which lowers the melatonin, which throws off your hormones, the circadian rhythm.
Trouble sleeping.
Trouble sleeping. But then also has been shown in bipolar disease, and then also increased risk of hypothyroidism, right? Which is absolutely crucial, because there's so many people that come into the office, which they're on some thyroid medication, but they're not thinking that, it could be a toxin or chemical that's in the water that they're drinking.
Well, and just to be clear, if you live in Lee County, they don't have fluoride in the water. But if you live in Collier County, they do have fluoride in the water. And so that requires a filter. You can go to vitasalis.com to get a filter that removes the fluoride in the water for your whole house. I would highly, highly recommend that, now that we know what it does to the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what's absolutely crucial too, is that you're getting it for your whole house, and it's not just the water that you drink. Because if you're taking a really hot shower, that steam is still has that toxin in it.
There's more in the steam than there is from drinking water.
Yeah, and that's going to get into the body, right? It's not just the water that you drink. Also wheat, which, wheat's something that we talk about all the time.
Brain.
Yeah, exactly. And so what the wheat does is, it damages the gut lining and the digestive tract, but there's what's called the gut-brain relation. And you have a real close, intimate, connection between the gut and the brain. And if you're damaging the gut, it's affecting the brain, and it leads to, things like cerebellar ataxia, which is involuntary movements, epilepsy, autism, psychosis, MS, and headaches, right? So wheat is absolutely crucial that you cut out, that you stay away from. Also cow's milk, artificial sweeteners like aspartame, which, if you're trying to cut sugar out, it doesn't mean that by buying a diet soda that's going to be better.
My father-in-law was diagnosed with diabetes like 30, 40 years ago, and then was told, but don't worry about it. You, instead of drinking your 2 liter of Coke every day, which he did, you can drink Diet Coke every day. And then he died of a brain tumor that's directly caused by aspartame. So he was visiting here in Naples one time, and we had to take him to the hospital because things weren't working well, and we found a big brain tumor there. Yeah.
Right.
So it's not just a little, like when we say stop eating meat or cow's milk or aspartame, it's not just like, oh, it's like a little bit better for you. It's like a big deal that people don't realize how dangerous this stuff is.
Well, in the artificial sweetener, like if you're trying to lose weight by cutting out sugar and you add artificial sweetener, that leads to obesity because it damages the gut lining. But then also low-fat diet, you know, I just talked about how fats are very important for your body. If you're eating a low-fat diet, you're not getting the proper fats that you need. Pesticides, which are, you know, sprayed on foods from the glyphosate. Cell phones. Recent studies showed that the 3G phones disrupt the connection to the brain, right? So the 3G phones are affecting the way that the brain is functioning, okay? But then not only that, scientists have shown that, or they think that because the 3G phones are affecting you, that the 4G phones are gonna affect you. But now there's 5G phones coming out. So if the 3G phones were affecting the brain, now, not to mention the 5G that's out, obviously that's gonna destroy the way that the brain is functioning and the waves that, the wavelengths that go through the brain and the neurons that are functioning.
Yeah.
Right, and then lastly was the MSGs and the painkillers.
All right. So I'm going to go over some regenerators, some good news for you, that you can regenerate the brain cells. Yeah.
And yes, Kim, this is recorded, so this will be on Facebook there, on our Facebook page.
It's also on YouTube, so if you need the links for those, we can send those to you as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these regenerators that you can really use in your everyday routine or daily living that will help you regenerate those brain cells like the new paradigm suggests. So some of them can range from herbs and spices, turmeric, ginger, rosemary, green tea, lion's mane mushroom, which is Dr. Joel's favorite.
I love it. I do. I'm not going to lie.
Excuse me. I'm going to go over a little bit about why lion's mane is so important. So it's used for culinary or medical uses in Asian countries like China, India, Japan, and Korea. You can eat these cooked, raw, dried, or steeped in tea. And as we age, our brain connections tend to decline due to lifestyle factors, what we put in our bodies, not enough brain stimulation. But lion's mane, when you add that to a smoothie, for example, like you do all the time, it stimulates growth by the two compounds, which are special compounds just really in lion's mane, which are called herasiones and aresinines. So these two compounds can actually stimulate brain cell growth. And there has been studies in animals that lion's mane actually protects against Alzheimer's disease. Sorry, excuse me.
I can tell you that I went to the farmer's market on 3rd.
Yeah.
And there's a mushroom guy there who grows mushrooms, and he had lion's mane there. And they're like this big, like it's like a big mushroom. It was $8 for one mushroom, but it was like a meal almost. And we cooked it up. It tasted really nice, like a nice regular mushroom, I would say. And then one time in my smoothie, I used like the dried stuff, right? The powder. And I put too much, like it all poured in. So I had to like pull some out, but there was way too much in there. But I can tell you that when I took that smoothie, my brain was like on. It was like I was like buzzing all day long because I had way too much lion's mane. So from that experience, I could say it definitely affects your brain. Okay.
So these animal studies were done in mice, and it's shown to reduce memory loss symptoms, preventing neuronal damage caused by the beta amyloid plaques that we talked about that accumulate in the brain and can cause Alzheimer's disease. So just using 3 grams of the powdered lion's mane daily for 4 months shows significant improved mental functioning. And actually those improvements went away when the supplements were stopped. So I thought that was really interesting. So there's a huge difference while you're supplementing with lion's mane versus when you're not. And it's also shown to reduce depression and anxiety in most patients taking it. So the next one will be walnuts. So a lot of people think that just eating any kind of nut that's a raw nut is good for your health, which usually it is, but not all nuts are created equal. So some patients come in and are like, yeah, I eat peanuts every day. Well, those don't have as much nutritional value when we're talking about brain health as walnuts do. So a large study from Harvard recently found that eating nuts is strongly correlated with life longevity. Over 100,000 people in this study who ate nuts had a 20% lower death rate than those who didn't eat nuts. And then the walnut, so it's actually, if you've looked at a walnut, it kind of resembles the brain with like
so,
the little.
I was just thinking of that. So lion's mane mushroom resembles
Yep.
the brain. Walnut, coconut.
Yes,
Right?
they all do.
They all kind of resemble the brain, and they're all excellent for the brain as well.
Yeah, exactly. So walnuts are actually the top nut for brain health because they have significantly higher amount of omega-3s, specifically the DHA. So DHA protects the brain, even in newborns, improves cognitive function in adults, and prevents cognitive decline as you age. So just a quarter cup of nuts per day can provide you 100% of the recommended daily value of omega-3 fatty acids in the form of DHA. And then coconut, so a few more that we talked about in a previous episode. So ginkgo biloba, CBD, and then I wanted to go over coconut oil because this is always a question in the office. Is coconut oil good? Is coconut oil bad? How should I use it? So coconut oil is a medium chain triglyceride, which are metabolized a little bit different than fat. So, and that's, I'm going to shorten that. So it's MCT instead of medium chain triglyceride, which just means they're broken down at a slower rate. So the MCTs in coconut oil break down into the body into ketones, which can be used by the brain itself for energy if there's no glucose available. So the brain usually uses glucose for energy, but let's say you don't have enough glucose, the brain can actually use ketones instead of glucose for energy. So under normal circumstances, your brain would use glucose, right? But let's say you have dementia, memory loss, Alzheimer's, your brain can actually use ketones instead of glucose for energy. So adding coconut oil really to any routine that you have during the day can help your brain function better, have more energy, and you become almost a little bit more clear. I mean, a lot of people
totally focused.
Yeah, focused. And then some people do oil pulling as well, where you just put a spoonful of coconut oil in your mouth and swish it around. So that's also a way to use coconut oil.
Yeah.
And then coconut water as well.
What about one? There's one that's missing.
Oh yeah, the magnesium threonate.
Yes.
So magnesium
for memory. That's for memory. A lot of people want to know, how do I improve my memory? All these things help, but magnesium threonate is fantastic.
Yes, the magnesium threonate can cross the blood-brain barrier, so that is the best magnesium to stimulate brain health.
Yes.
Okay, so some habits that we can implement, and it looks like I spelled neuroregenerative maybe wrong, I don't know. No, I didn't, okay. So the first one would be chiropractic adjustments. So chiropractic adjustments, just realigning the cervical spine, so the very top bones in your neck that house your brainstem, they really control all the communication from your brain to your body. So making sure those bones aren't misaligned or subluxated, making sure those are clear for communication, directly affects your brain and the prefrontal cortex, improving coordination, strength to your extremities, improving your memory, moods. I mean, so many benefits of having those, especially at the very, very top of your spine, clear so your brain can function the right way.
Yeah, and our patients know the mood improves too because of your prefrontal cortex, right? The improvement and balancing of the prefrontal cortex after a cervical adjustment.
Exactly.
It's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yep. So sleeping well is also a neuroregenerative habit. Did you want to go over sleeping?
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, sleeping, obviously, so you want to get rid of fluoride, get rid of calcium, so you stop calcifying the pineal gland. Actually, they say 60% of American adults have a calcified pineal gland. So that's how significant this is. So that's an absolute. So if you want to sleep well and get in good circadian rhythms, right, you got to get rid of the fluoride. You got to get rid of the cheap calcium supplements, basically. What happens is the lymphatic system in the brain, called the glymphatic system, right? When you sleep, your brain shrinks 60%. which is fascinating to me, right? 60% smaller brain. And basically what happens is like a sponge, it squeezes out all of those amyloid, the beta amyloid proteins that your body uses to protect itself during the day, and it cleans it out. And then the lymphatic system drains it out of your body. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not detoxifying your brain every night. And that's a major, major factor. You know, maybe we can do a segment on sleep one time. We've done it before, but maybe we got to do another one of how to like get the sleep well, not just the basics that we just gave now, but more in depth there, but super, super important.
And some other easy habits to implement on a daily basis would be aerobic exercise. So supplementing with any kind of exercise during the day, getting your oxygen, you know, fueled to the brain through exercise. Breathing helps you sleep. So meditation, certain breathing exercises put your body in a parasympathetic mode. So rest or digest, which allows your body to relax and properly sleep. And then music as well. So that's also a big one. My husband, I think, sends me a bunch of research articles. He's a musician, so he claims that this brings more pathways to your brain and stimulates just brain health in general.
There's no question.
Yeah, so that's all we have for you for brain health today. So we have one more mini series date before our big event on February 20th, which is going to be right across the street at F45 from 11 to 1. Which is a Saturday, and the tickets are $20 through this Friday. So after this, I'm going to post the link to Eventbrite so you can sign up in the Facebook and YouTube post here. So if you have any questions or you'd like to get tickets, just give us a call at the office.
How much are tickets now?
$20 through Friday.
And then afterwards?
And then next week they go up to $40.
Yeah, and we're providing a light lunch.
Yes, we are.
Lunch.
Yep.
We were joking, saying the lunch is just going to be air breatharians.
so you can
for
fast.
Breathing. No, but we're actually providing a nice, healthy, organic lunch for you, and we'll go over all the regenerative concepts in one sitting. It's going to be a great seminar. So bring your friends, please.
Okay, we hope to see you all there. Leave us any questions in the comments if you guys have any other questions.
See you guys.